Hey everyone! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a chest bag. Honestly, this was my first time working on such a mixed style project, so I kept tweaking and adjusting the design over and over. That's maybe why this video took longer than I expected to finish. But luckily, it's finally done, and I am pretty happy with how it turned out. This time, I decided to add some voiceover to walk you through some of my design choices and how I solved problems I ran into. If you are also interested in this project, let's get started. For this project, I plan to use 4-grain vegetation leather. Picking the right thickness was a bit tricky. On one hand, I wanted the bag to be strong enough to hold its own shape, which means I could not go too thin. On the other hand, since it's constructed with an inside stitch and will need to be turned right side out when finished, leather that's too thick would make that step really difficult. So maybe 7 or 8-ish ounce leather just felt like the right choice. It is a full-size chest bag. I will be using leather for the bag itself, while all the attachments will be MOLLE system compatible components, including webbing, buckles, elastic cords, and maybe some paracord. To ensure it works with all standard MOLLE accessories available on the market, the straps stitched onto the bag will also be sized to match the MOLLE system standards. As you can see, this height isn't as good as what you normally get with a grade A leather, because it isn't. It's more like a grade B, if I remember correctly. The grading comes down to the number of scars, scratches, branding marks, and other imperfections on the surface, which means the usable area of a lower grade height is smaller compared to a higher grade height. For projects that require large continuous sections like full-size tote bags, backpacks, or even leather jackets, tanneries often prefer to sort out these low-yield hides and sell them whole at a discount, rather than using them in production. So, when the hides come from the same batch, grading only refers to the usable area available within the selected higher quality sections, such as the shoulder, back, and hip. That means for areas without flaws, the leather quality remains the same across all grades. So if you are working on smaller pieces and can cut around the flawed spots, leather like this becomes a really cost-effective option. This piece, for example, cost me about only half what I'd usually pay for a higher grade. the zipper runs through the center of the gusset. To deal with this, I always use one single piece of leather, cut an opening and set the zipper into the gap. Because a 4-grain leather retains all its natural surface marks, I wanted to preserve that character as much as possible, so that all the beautiful grain and markings maintain their natural flow and continuity. Of course, if you are using leather with a very consistent surface like top grain or even chrome tan leather, where the natural marks are either sanded away or sliced off during processing, then it doesn't really matter where you cut from. In this project, I picked a new set of breaking irons, a tooth shape that I hadn't tried before. At first, the holes didn't look very consistent, and I was concerned about how the stitching would turn out. So I stopped it and tested them on a scrap piece. Thankfully, the result seemed acceptable, but as it turned out later, using this set of breaking irons was actually one of the biggest mistakes I made in this build. I will explain why in a later part of the video. Like most tactical chest bags, the main compartment features a wide opening design, which I think looks pretty cool. That also means the zipper I used this time is nearly 80 centimeters long. Due to its length, it was a bit painful to align them. To ensure both midpoints line up, I first placed a tape on the zipper and marked the center line. Then, using a pen to mark the center punch hole on the leather. This marking method leaves no visible trace on the finished piece. The tape can be peeled off, and the marks on the punch holes will be all covered by the stitching. You can also use any straight references you can find to help keep everything aligned and parallel, like the grid lines on a cutting mat or the subtle guidelines woven into the zipper tape. Then I used more tape to secure the zipper firmly to the table or the cutting mat you see in the video in my case. Attaching one side first, waiting for the glue to dry, and then repeating the process for the other side. Since the opening is so wide, the inside of the bag will be more visible, which means you have to pay extra attention to finishes. Take the zipper tape ends for example. My preferred method is to fold them over twice like this. In this way, the spine of the tape will end up at the very edge. Plus, when you stitch together, you are going through 3 layers of folded tape instead of just one, reinforces the whole structure. This step actually took me literally 2 days to complete. Part of the reason was the design itself. Covering the front, rear, and each side panel entirely with MOLLE strap, both in and outside, was no joke. But the most painfully difficult part was the pricking iron I used this time. Unlike French-style irons, which slice a narrow slit, or round hole punches, which remove a small piece of leather, these conical shaped teeth leave behind so tiny opening in the leather. You can't even see any hole marks on the flesh side of the leather. Combined with thick thread and the multiple layers of thick leather, made it really difficult to get the needle through each time. The friction was so intense that I had to use pliers to pull the needle out every time. That's why my needle kept bending more than once. For the strap attachments, normally you have two options, on the panels or along the seam. But I wanted a heavier duty feel. None of them seemed strong enough to me, so I sandwiched a thicker piece of leather into the seam, act as a stress member, and then stitching everything together. That design also serves another purpose, which allows my wide opening layout to include a positioning cord, so the open panel can be fixed at any desired angle. For this kind of looped stitch, which has no real start or end point, especially since I've integrated multiple structural components into the seam, aligning the holes correctly is very important. Take your time to position and double check the starting holes. The last thing you want is to stitch all the way to the end only to find the holes don't match up. Trust me, you won't enjoy that experience, not even once. As I was close to finishing the main body of the bag, this package arrived. If you are really into leather crafting, you've probably seen this before. Yes, these are sewing pins or positioning needles, whatever it is being called. Of course, binder clips work perfectly fine too, and they are what I've used for years. But my approach to buying tools is simple. Only get what I really need. That's how you learn what a specific tool does. why it's good, and how it improves your work. Before you finish the last part of the stitch, especially if you are choosing a locking zipper slider, make sure to open the zipper a little bit, at least enough to fit your one hand inside. Finally, it is time to turning the bag right side out. It's usually a satisfying step, especially with a newly designed project. But this time, because of the thickness of the leather, I was a little concerned from the start. After clearing away anything sharp, including your own fingernails, I strongly recommend to wear a pair of gloves because you will be wrestling with it for a while before it finally flips inside out. If you've watched this far, thank you for your support. The main body of the chest bag is now complete. That's all for this video. Next time, I will finish the entire build, covering the multifunctional back panel, how all the straps are laid out, and every accessories I add to it. If you are interested, feel free to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Happy crafting and bye bye.